Adrian Cole slammed the folder down on my desk hard enough to make my coffee cup jump. No knock, no good morning, just pure arrogance walking into my office like he owned the place. "Pierce, we need to talk. Now." I looked up from the quarterly production reports I'd been reviewing. The numbers were solid. Our best quarter in 3 years, actually. But Adrian's face told me this wasn't about celebrating success. "My name's Pierce Davidson. I'm 49 years old, and I've been working at Davidson Industries for 22 years. Yeah, Davidson Industries, named after my grandfather, built by my father. But that morning, sitting in my VP of Operations office, I had no idea I was about to get the shock of my life. "The board's decided to restructure," Adrian said, not bothering to sit down. "We're moving in a new direction. Frankly, we need leadership that's forward-thinking, not stuck in old manufacturing mindsets." I blinked. "You're firing me?" "We're eliminating your position, effective immediately." He smiled like he'd just won the lottery. "Your approach is outdated, Pierce. This industry needs aggressive leadership, innovation, strategic thinking. You manage processes, not people." There it was. At 49, I was apparently too old, too set in my ways. Never mind that I'd reduced operational costs by 15% last year while improving safety ratings. Never mind that the production teams actually respected me because I'd worked alongside them, not just managed from an office. "I see," I said quietly. "Any particular reason?" Adrian's tone got sharper. "You lack vision. You're comfortable with incremental improvements when we need revolutionary change. Let's be honest. This company needs leadership that can think beyond quarterly maintenance schedules." I understood perfectly. Adrian Cole, 42 years old, MBA from Wharton, had joined as CEO 18 months ago. He'd impressed the board with fancy presentations about disruption and synergies. Meanwhile, I was just the guy who made sure things actually worked. "I'll need your badge and laptop by 5 p.m., he added. "HR has your severance package." I stood up and extended my hand. "Thanks for the clarity, Adrian." He hesitated, probably expecting anger or begging. But I'd learned long ago to keep my emotions in check during business dealings. We shook hands, and he walked out, satisfied with his power play. As the door closed, I sat back down and took a deep breath. My hands were steady. If anything, I felt relieved. Because what Adrian didn't know, what nobody in that building knew except my family lawyer, was that exactly 1 week ago, something had changed. Something big. I looked at the framed photo on my desk. My father at the ribbon-cutting ceremony when he opened our second facility. Same company Adrian had just kicked me out of. I touched the frame's edge. "You were right, Dad. Wait until the right moment." I started packing my personal stuff. Not much. A coffee mug the floor supervisors gave me last Christmas. Some old notebooks with improvement ideas that never made it past Adrian's desk. A few people offered sympathetic looks as I walked through the halls. Others avoided eye contact. I could see their thoughts. What did he do wrong? Is the old guard finally out? I left with a polite nod and no drama. Outside in the parking lot, I felt 22 years of corporate politics slide off my shoulders. They thought they'd ended my career. What they'd really done was give me the green light. I pulled out my phone and texted my lawyer. "It's time. Prepare everything." His response came back instantly. "Understood. Shareholder meeting in 5 business days." I looked back at the building where I'd spent half my adult life. Adrian thought this was finished. He had no idea what was coming. 1 week earlier, I'd been sitting in Liam Murphy's law office, staring at an envelope I couldn't open until my 49th birthday. My father had always been dramatic about important things. "Pierce," Liam had said in his calm, professional voice, "your father left very specific instructions. This envelope stays sealed until your 49th birthday, not a day before." I'd smiled, half curious, half amused. "What's in it? Some kind of delayed birthday card?" Liam gave me that look lawyers give when they know something you don't. "Your father was a practical man. He believed in timing." That phrase stuck with me. My father, who'd founded Davidson Industries 50 years ago, had always believed in preparation and patience. When he passed 5 years ago, the company changed. It got colder, more focused on quarterly numbers than on the people who made those numbers possible. Adrian joined shortly after, charming the board with his MBA credentials and slowly dismantling the culture Dad had built. I'd stayed, thinking I could protect what was left. Now I understood Dad had seen this coming and prepared for it. On my birthday morning, I opened that envelope alone in my kitchen, sitting at the same table where Dad used to review production reports every Sunday. Inside was a handwritten letter and a formal legal document. The letter was in Dad's neat handwriting. Pierce, if you're reading this, you're 49 and ready for what comes next. I never doubted it. You've spent your career working twice as hard for half the credit. I saw the late nights, the integrity, the way you treated people fairly. I also saw how the company might change after I left, and I knew there might come a time when you'd need more than a good reputation. So I gave you the whole table. I paused, my coffee getting cold as I read on. The trust document behind this letter transfers 75% of my company shares to you, held until your 49th birthday. Full voting rights activate immediately. I read that line 4 times. 75%. I wasn't just a shareholder. I was the majority owner, the controlling shareholder. My hands started shaking slightly as the reality hit me. For 22 years, I'd been working in a company I thought belonged to others. Turns out, it belonged to me. Had belonged to me, waiting for the right moment. I called Liam immediately. "Is this real?" "Completely legal," he replied. "Your father structured the trust to avoid public disclosure requirements. The board has no idea unless you choose to tell them. Why didn't he activate it sooner? He wanted you to experience the company on your own terms first, to see who people really were when they thought you had no power, to decide if you wanted this responsibility before you claimed it." That hit me hard. I'd spent years being overlooked, having my ideas dismissed in meetings, watching younger guys with fancy degrees get promoted while I kept the operations running smoothly. I'd smiled through it all, believing hard work would eventually pay off. Turns out it wasn't time that was missing, it was leverage, and suddenly I had it. "Let's talk about what comes next," I told Liam. "We'll prepare documents for a special shareholder meeting. We can notify the board once everything's ready." "Don't notify them yet," I said, "not until I give the word." There was a pause on the line. "Pierce, what are you planning?" I looked out my kitchen window, watching the morning traffic drift by. People rushing to jobs, unaware that everything was about to change. "I'm planning to walk into that boardroom and show them exactly who they tried to fire." I didn't show up for the exit interview HR had scheduled. They called twice, then emailed. I ignored them all. Instead, I sat in a quiet coffee shop downtown while Liam reviewed the final paperwork for the shareholder meeting notice. "You sure about this?" Liam asked, sliding the documents across the table. "Once you file this, you're dropping a bomb in their boardroom." "They pulled the pin when they fired me," I said. The documents were simple, like most powerful things tend to be. A formal notice of special shareholder meeting with one agenda item: leadership review and appointment of new executive management. Adrian wouldn't see it coming. His whole style was built on controlling through confidence. He bulldozed meetings with business school jargon, dismissed older voices as legacy thinking, and used charm when it suited him. The board, mostly guys impressed by his aggressive MBA approach, had let him operate unchecked for 18 months. They were about to discover how fragile that kind of power really was. "I'll serve them notice Friday morning," Liam continued. "Meeting set for Tuesday. Gives them 2 business days to think about it." I couldn't help smiling. Perfect. That afternoon, I met with Diana Murphy, Liam's wife and the trustee who'd managed the shares since Dad's death. She was sharp, professional, and had a memory like a steel trap. "I've watched that man dismantle your father's legacy piece by piece," she said, sliding a folder across her desk. "You don't owe him courtesy." Inside was everything I'd need for Tuesday: ownership certificates, voting records, and a detailed breakdown of company performance under Adrian's leadership. Declining employee satisfaction scores, rising turnover in key departments, excessive spending on executive perks, and flattening revenue growth despite a booming manufacturing market. "He's been hiding behind aggressive projections and consultant fees," Diana said evenly. "If this continues, he'll drive the company into the ground within 3 years. Your father built something solid. Adrian's treating it like a startup to flip." I nodded, absorbing the data. The numbers told a clear story. I'll let the facts speak. As I drove home that evening, I passed the Davidson Industries main facility. Second shift was just starting. These were people I'd worked alongside for years: machinists, technicians, quality inspectors, good people who took pride in their work. Under Adrian's efficiency initiatives, several had been laid off, others had their benefits cut, and the rest lived with constant uncertainty about their jobs. Dad had always said the company existed to serve 2 purposes: make quality products and provide good jobs for good people. Adrian had flipped that equation. Now it was about maximizing shareholder value and impressing Wall Street analysts, even though we weren't a public company. Well, he was about to meet the shareholder who mattered most. By Monday morning, rumors about my sudden departure were flying through the facility. My phone buzzed with messages from colleagues. What happened? Did you quit? Adrian's acting like nothing happened, but people are asking questions. Heard you got terminated. That's bull. You were the best manager we had. Whatever went down, hope you land on your feet. I didn't reply to any of them. The silence was strategic. I wanted Adrian comfortable, convinced he'd erased me from the equation. Let him play king a little longer, let him underestimate me one final time. That evening, I stood in front of my closet looking at the navy suit I'd bought for special occasions but rarely wore. Tomorrow wouldn't be about asking for power or proving myself worthy. It would be about claiming what was already mine. I thought about Dad, how he'd built this company from nothing. Started in a rented garage with 3 employees, grew it into a 350-person operation with facilities in 2 states. He'd done it the old way, treating employees fairly, delivering quality products, building relationships that lasted decades. Adrian's way was different. Quarterly metrics, efficiency consulting, strategic restructuring. Fancy words that usually meant firing experienced people and cutting corners. Tomorrow, I'd find out which approach really worked in the long run. I set my alarm for 6 a.m., laid out my clothes, and tried to get some sleep. But my mind kept racing, thinking about the look on Adrian's face when he realized what was happening, when he understood that the man he'd dismissed as outdated actually held the keys to the kingdom. This wasn't about revenge, it was about restoration, getting the company back to what it was supposed to be. And that started tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. Tuesday morning arrived crisp and clear. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. without the alarm, showered, and put on that navy suit. In the mirror, I looked like a man who belonged in a boardroom, not someone who'd been fired a week ago. I arrived at Davidson Industries 10 minutes early, walking past the receptionist with quiet confidence. She did a double take but didn't stop me. After 22 years, I still belonged here more than anyone else. Upstairs, the boardroom lights were already on. I could see silhouettes through the frosted glass, hear Adrian's voice holding court about Q4 projections and market expansion strategies. Liam met me by the elevators carrying a leather briefcase. They're all there. Adrian's been talking for 15 minutes already. Brought charts and everything. Good, I said. Let him wear himself out. I took a slow breath, straightened my tie, and walked toward the boardroom. 22 years of being overlooked, dismissed, and underestimated had led to this moment. The door opened with a soft click. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned in unison. "Pierce," Adrian said, eyebrows raised in genuine surprise. "This meeting is for board members only. You'll need to leave." I smiled politely, placed the ownership documents on the mahogany table, and took the seat at the head of the conference table, the chair my father used to occupy. "Exactly," I said. The silence was complete. Adrian stared from the other end, confusion flickering across his face like a computer trying to process bad data. I could almost see him trying to figure out how to regain control of the room. "Pierce," he said again, his voice sharper now. "As I clearly stated, former employees aren't permitted in board meetings." "Security, I'm not here as an employee," I replied evenly, my voice carrying across the room. "I'm here as the majority shareholder." That sentence shifted everything. The air itself seemed to change. Board members exchanged looks, some stiffening in their chairs, others leaning forward with sudden interest. George Foster, who'd been with the company since Dad's early days, picked up the document I'd placed on the table and adjusted his reading glasses. His face went pale as he read. "Is this accurate?" Foster asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It is," I said. 75% of the company shares were transferred to me through a family trust when I turned 49. All documentation is properly filed, notarized, and submitted in full compliance with corporate governance regulations. Adrian looked from me to Liam, who calmly handed copies of the ownership certificate to the board secretary. The young woman's hands trembled slightly as she distributed them around the table. "You can't be serious," Adrian scoffed, but his voice had lost its usual confidence. "This is ridiculous. Why would your father keep this secret? This has to be some kind of mistake." "Because he trusted me," I cut in, my voice steady and clear. and because he knew exactly what this company would become without proper oversight. The room went quiet again. Everyone understood what I meant without me spelling it out. Since Dad's death, Adrian had systematically dismantled everything that made Davidson Industries special. The culture, the values, the respect for employees who dedicated their careers to building something meaningful. Let's get to the point, I continued, opening the second folder Diana had prepared. As majority shareholder, I've called this special meeting to review current executive leadership, including the position of Chief Executive Officer. Adrian stood up abruptly, his face flushed red. This is a corporate coup, a personal vendetta. You think you can just walk in here after being terminated and... I'm not asking permission, I said, lifting my voice just enough to command the room. I'm exercising my legal rights as the controlling shareholder of this company. I slid the performance report across the polished table. Let's discuss facts, not theories. Employee satisfaction down 32% in 18 months. Turnover in critical operations positions up 28%. 2 preventable safety incidents under your cost-cutting initiatives. Revenue growth flat in a manufacturing market that's been expanding for 3 straight years. I looked directly at Adrian. All under your leadership. Board members started flipping through pages, their expressions growing more serious with each statistic. Foster looked genuinely disturbed. The CFO, who'd remained silent until now, leaned over to whisper something urgent to our legal counsel, who immediately started typing on his tablet. You're manipulating data to support your revenge fantasy, Adrian said, but his voice cracked slightly. These numbers are taken out of context. You don't understand the strategic vision, the long-term positioning. I understand perfectly, I said. You've been treating this company like a quarterly profit center instead of a 50-year legacy built on quality products and loyal employees. You've cut safety training, eliminated apprenticeship programs, and treated experienced workers like disposable assets. I pulled out my final document. Effective immediately, I'm submitting a formal motion to remove Adrian Cole as Chief Executive Officer of Davidson Industries. As majority shareholder holding 75% of voting stock, my vote alone is sufficient to pass this motion. The board secretary looked stunned, her pen hovering over her notepad. You don't need a second vote? I own 3/4 of this company, I said simply. That's a majority by any reasonable definition. Foster cleared his throat, his voice shaky but official. In accordance with company bylaws and shareholder agreements, the motion carries. Effective upon completion of proper documentation. Adrian slammed both hands on the table, making water glasses jump. You can't do this. I have a contract. The board supports my vision. The board serves at the pleasure of the shareholders, I said calmly, and I am the shareholder. Adrian didn't wait for security. He stormed toward the door, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. But just before leaving, he turned back. You think you've won something here? You're going to destroy this company with your outdated thinking. In 6 months, you'll be begging me to come back. I met his eyes steadily. In 6 months, we'll be profitable again. The door slammed shut behind him with enough force to rattle the windows. When the door stopped rattling, I exhaled slowly and turned to face the remaining board members. The silence stretched for a long moment before George Foster spoke. Well, he said, a faint smile forming on his weathered face. Welcome back, Pierce. The other board members nodded, some looking relieved, others still processing what they'd just witnessed. I could see it in their faces. They'd been uncomfortable with Adrian's direction but hadn't known how to challenge it. Now they didn't have to. This company deserves better than what it's become, I said, looking around the table. So do its people. Starting today, that's exactly what they're going to get. By Friday afternoon, Adrian's nameplate had been removed from the CEO office door. I didn't rush to move in. I had more important work to do first, like rebuilding the soul of Davidson Industries. The following Monday, I called an all-hands meeting in the main assembly area. Same space where Adrian used to make quarterly speeches about maximizing operational efficiency while ignoring safety concerns and employee input. But this time, the energy was completely different. People filtered in slowly, murmuring among themselves. The front rows stayed empty at first. Nobody wanted to seem too eager. Some faces looked anxious, others skeptical. They'd been disappointed before. I stood alone at the front. No PowerPoint slides, no prepared remarks, just honesty. Most of you know me, I began, my voice carrying across the large space. Some only know what you've heard this past week. Let me start with this. I didn't come here to grab power. I came here to restore what we lost. A few heads tilted. People were listening. For decades, this company ran on the strength of its people, your expertise, your dedication, your belief that what we built here mattered. Somewhere along the way, that got forgotten. I paused, letting that settle in the quiet room. I was fired last Monday. Told my approach was outdated, that I didn't understand modern business. A few nervous chuckles rippled through the crowd. Maybe that's true. Maybe believing that experienced workers deserve respect is outdated. Maybe thinking safety comes before profit margins is old-fashioned. I looked across the familiar faces, machinists I'd worked alongside, supervisors who'd taught me the business, quality inspectors who'd been with the company since my father's time. But if that's being outdated, then I'm proud to be behind the times. The response was immediate. Applause starting from the back rows and spreading forward. Not polite corporate clapping, but real appreciation from people who'd felt unheard for too long. Starting today, things change. We're going back to what worked, what my father built this company on. Over the next 2 weeks, I did something that would have horrified business school professors. I listened. I met with department heads, shift supervisors, maintenance crews, office staff, even the cleaning crew. I asked what wasn't working. I asked what they needed. I asked who deserved recognition they weren't getting. Then I acted on what I heard. Kevin Walsh, who'd been running customer service operations without the title or pay, got promoted to operations manager. Ryan Torres, a brilliant engineer who'd quit after being passed over repeatedly, came back as head of product development. Sarah Martinez, a machinist with 15 years' experience, became our first female shop supervisor. I restructured our management approach completely. Those performance complaints that had been collecting dust in HR files, I read every single one. Several managers who'd created toxic work environments under Adrian's protection were quietly let go within 2 weeks. Most importantly, I launched something Dad had always talked about but never implemented, the Davidson Excellence Program. Recognition for innovation, rewards for collaboration, promotions based on results and character, not politics or credentials. No more favoritism. No more treating experienced workers like they were disposable, just good people doing good work and finally getting the credit they deserved. Late one evening, I was walking through the facility after second shift had ended. The energy had completely transformed, lighter, more positive. People were staying late because they wanted to, not because they feared consequences. Near the main production line, someone had written on a whiteboard in blue marker, "Welcome home, boss. Not welcome back. Welcome home." That hit me harder than I expected. The following week, I finally moved into the CEO office. The nameplate was simple brushed steel. Pierce Davidson, Chief Executive Officer. I didn't change much about the space, kept the solid oak desk, the wide windows overlooking the production floor, but I added one thing, a framed photo of Dad and me at the company's 25th anniversary celebration. Both of us smiling, both believing in what we were building. I set it where I could see it every day, a reminder of why this mattered. 6 months later, we posted our strongest quarterly results in 5 years. Employee satisfaction up 35%. Safety incidents down to 0. Turnover in critical positions nearly eliminated. Revenue growing at 18% annually in a market that was only expanding at 12%. But the numbers weren't what made me proudest. It was walking through the facility and seeing people who looked forward to coming to work. Hearing laughter in the break rooms again. Watching experienced workers mentor younger employees instead of competing with them. It's been exactly 1 year since Adrian fired me. 12 months since I walked out with a cardboard box, dismissed as outdated and irrelevant. 12 months since he stripped me of my position, unaware that I already owned the company he thought he controlled. This morning, I got a call from George Foster. "Pierce, thought you'd want to know. Adrian's consulting firm just filed for bankruptcy. Apparently, his aggressive approach didn't work out so well when he had to build something from scratch instead of dismantling what others built." I felt no satisfaction hearing that. Just sadness for the opportunities he'd wasted and the people he'd hurt along the way. As I sit in my office now, looking down at the production floor where third-generation Davidson Industries employees work alongside newcomers, I understand what Dad meant about timing. Some things can't be rushed. Some victories are worth waiting for. The company my grandfather named and my father built is stronger than ever. Not because we embraced disruption or chased quarterly metrics, but because we remembered what always worked, treating people with respect, building quality products, and understanding that the best businesses aren't about maximizing profits, they're about creating something worth preserving. That's not outdated thinking. That's timeless wisdom, and it's exactly what this company needed all along.